for your freebies, you know it's a good freebie when you second guessing, like, man, I should be charging for this. That's how you know it's a good freebie. The longest sequence I have is a 45 email sequence, but it's not like one sequence is 45 emails. It's those, okay, boom, boom, series here. You click this. Okay, boom, boom, boom. You get this. Understanding both your audience and the buyer's journey is so impactful.
Hello and welcome back to the Elevated Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Raylen Davis, and as always, I have an amazing guest for you. Like, not just like a decent one, like a real decent. Like, decent in like the best way possible. Real decent. He's my good friend, Rock. Rock is a automation specialist. Email automation, CRMs, text, you name it. You want to automate it, my boy Rock can do it. But I think more impressively, and this is why he's on the podcast today, is because it's not just the automation, it's the automation with intent, right? The intent to influence, the intent to inspire, the intent to get somebody across the line to buy. So without further ado, what's up, Rock? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing, brother?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Okay, so before we get into all the nitty-gritty of automation, what it could do for coaches, consignants, any entrepreneur for that matter, business owner, I want to know about your start. Like, no one wakes up, gets born, leaves grade 5, and goes, I'm going to automate some shit. So walk me through, what did you do before the online presence took off? Like, what were you doing?
Man, it's a long journey. It's going to be entertaining one of that. So before all this, I was a general manager for a flooring company. So my job was to have a sales team go out into apartment complexes, new construction, say, hey, let us put your flooring in. And so I had a sales team, operations, finance, office staff, all that good stuff. So 3 years later, the company decides to relocate. I'm not moving to California. I got a family here in North Carolina. We're not doing that. But that left me without a job now. So I had to figure out what was I going to do. But in my job, a lot of the work was having my team go out and do door knocking. And that was only but so effective. So what we did is say, okay, let's try to do an inbound approach. So go ahead and start making a little bit of content. And this is before like Instagram was like crazy, right? Yeah. So we just told them, so go make some content. Try to get a newsletter out. Just do the small things. I was already researching email marketing. Didn't know how to do it fully, but I was just researching it. And like, okay, this is what we're going to try out.
You're doing this under the company, right? Like it's not like a personal brand yet. This is just under the company. You're trying to devise a way to make content, bring people to you, do email marketing. Got it.
Exactly. So we were testing that out, and then people was coming up saying, hey, you know, I would love to do your floors. I love what you guys do. Because we were doing a lot of in-person events anyway, right? So it was like, it was easier to do it that way because they didn't have to almost drive for dollars every single day. So, again, company decides to relocate. I don't have a job, so what am I going to do? Well, I've already have knowledge of email marketing. Now let's try to really start making money online because I'm so overqualified. I can't get a job anywhere else getting a mid-manager position. Mm-hmm. And even when I edit my resume to make it look like I don't have all these qualifications, when they sit down with me for an interview, it comes out of me. So now it was like, okay, well, no, I'm not going to bring it in. So I took a job as a janitor at a local high school, scrubbing toilets. In the time where it was slow, I go in the locker room. I shoot content for my personal brand, for all my affiliate marketing stuff, grow my email list, sell to my email list, and get results. So I was grinding. I was literally scrubbing toilets, answering phone calls, doing whatever I had to do. And then once I was able to kind of make enough and kind of like double, triple that income, like, okay, I don't need this no more. And I dove into entrepreneurship full time. So when I got results with email marketing and I was making like 5K months, 10K months and just crushing it, I said, okay, cool, let's show other people how to do it now. I've already done it for myself. Let's show others how to do it. So we switched from just me selling products to me trying to focus on getting people to understand the buyer's journey. Because I've done it for so long, but now let's get other people in that same mindset.
So then go back to the janitor days. You're scrubbing toilets, but selling products. What products were you doing affiliate marketing for?
Man, I wasn't doing like I go to ClickBank and go to JB Zoo and do all that stuff, right? All that YouTube viral stuff. Because if you look at make money online, that's the first thing that people want to say to do. Do not do that. I was selling products I was using. So I was already using GetResponse for my email marketing software. And I was just selling that.
Because like when you sign up, they'll give you like a 20% like referral code.
Exactly. And so now you get recurring commission every single month. Mind you, it's not going to be big in the beginning. I was only getting there's subscription like $40. I was only getting like maybe 15 of that Okay, cool. It doesn't matter because it's reoccurring. When I was doing the same thing with ClickFunnels, I made my first 1,000 ClickFunnels, and well, no, this is before. Back in the day, you could sell ClickFunnels as is, the $97 a month, and you get a piece of that. Now you have to sell $1,000 worth of their products before they allow you to promote the subscription-based products. So I was grandfathered in, so I was doing that, and I was making money on that end.
What's so
So as I
funny
grow
is
my,
I never I've always seen those affiliate link things. I just never thought to do that. Like I just
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, I don't know.
because
Which is so funny because, dude,
yeah,
I like you've seen my content. I'm always talking
yeah,
about the stuff that I like, right? I love Keep, and I always talk about the books, whatever. And then finally, Tim was like, why don't we have like a Amazon book list? Because I'm always talking about different books, and then have the like affiliate code, so we at least like get $5 here, like whatever. And I was like,
exactly.
again, I never think about it. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Because when I was looking on how am I gonna make money online, that's what was kept popping out. Do if you make 10 figures, make all these different amounts of money doing affiliate marketing, and it's like it's all these crazy, stupid ways on how to do it. And so I had to sift through that first.
Yeah,
And once I finally found, okay, it's literally just picking a product you like, selling it, and just making a reputation about that. So I was doing the old-fashioned way. I actually started off on Pinterest, putting the product and the links on Pinterest before Idea Pins was out and getting traffic that way.
yeah.
Then once I decided I'm going to make my own business out of it, I went to Instagram. And then I started promoting like, hey, this is what I do.
So what was the
I talk
content like
about
then? Because I mean, if you're
what
selling
back then.
different, yeah, what was your content like? If you're selling different things, like what was your everyday content like?
It was just like mainly tools and ways to make money online. That was when I started. When I started my Pinterest page, it was merely just make money online stuff. It was purely what it was. I would just curate content, and just post a link because back then, the standard pins you can put a link on, and then it'll take you right to the product, and that's what I was doing. And so when I went to Instagram, I got away from that. My content was more like, okay, trying to sell. Because now I'm not talking about affiliate marketing. I'm trying to say, how can I help your business grow? So as I developed my own set of skills, the business grew. And then once I focused more and I talked about email marketing more, a lot of people gravitated towards that content because they hadn't seen content like that. Let's be clear. Everyone talks about making money online.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about how to make money with content. Everybody talks about branding and brand pillars. There's a lot of people talking about those different avenues. But nobody was talking about how to really get to even your first 1,000 email subscribers.
Yeah, the nitty
That's
gritty
not
of like,
common.
yo, let's just
Yeah,
get started. Everyone starts with let's make 10K, let's make 20, let's make versus like.
yeah,
Cause I even remember when I told the team, I said, look, we took this off the Instagram, but there was a minute where I had make your first 5K on my Instagram, like because I was like in my head, I was like nobody's like talking about these people that are literally just starting. Like let's not
right.
the 10K thing. 10K is not that hard if you make your first 5, because then you just double that. You know what I mean? Like you
Exactly.
make your first
Exactly.
10,
Yeah.
20 is not that hard to conceptualize. It's just you just do a little bit more. Like it's not that hard. And so, but yeah, you're right. Like I think so many people were forgetting about the hey, let's make our first dollar online. How about that?
Exactly.
Let's start
That was
there.
the important part. So once we started talking, this is before I had I had contracted somebody on Fiverr to make a little quick like gaming logo for us. I wasn't putting my own face on the content yet. This is before reels and video content really
Yeah.
killed the game. So on Instagram, you were getting by on just putting single posts and carousels. That's all I would post. And then and I was getting
Carousels were
good traction.
crushing back in the day.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time for Instagram. So then once I started, okay, I'm gonna start putting myself out there more. So I went ahead and did my first live, posted myself more on stories.
How was
Had
that for
way
you?
more
Was that
traffic.
hard to
Oh,
start
that
to do?
I made it harder than what it had to be. And so what I did, I just jumped out there. Someone asked me to do a live or co-host. I said, you know what? Fine, I'm gonna do it because I need to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Once I did, it really wasn't that bad. Even the person didn't even know that was my first time going live. And I said, okay, so let's double down on that. So we took the picture away. We put a picture of me up. And then we just focused on just me showing up more in stories, showing up more to my audience and focus on building the audience. Now, the goal is to always get them off Instagram, but just giving that insider look and just being available was very important. And once I realized that, I just had to stop since.
So you've always been in the automation like kind of realm on Instagram predominantly, right?
Right.
Like
No,
before that was
definitely
affiliate
before.
marketing, but you've
Right.
always been. So you're super fortunate in that you found your thing kind of early.
Yeah, I did because, and for me, I like someone like being a unicorn. Nobody was really talking about that piece of business,
Mm-hmm.
like and just everyone's talking about how to grow on Instagram. I mean, granted, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just for me,
No, there's something wrong with
I
that.
could talk about right,
You won't
but
say
it's
in the
like for
Bible.
me, right, right, and, but it's like okay, cool. So how to grow, but what is that growth going to lead to, in a sense?
Mm,
What is that growth? Now you're talking about you can't convert those followers into dollars unless you what have a system in place, have ways to automate your processes and automate that buyer journey. That those are the small nuances no one really talks about, and so that's why I'm bringing it to light and challenging people to think that way. Don't just think Instagram content purchase. Think Instagram interest, email, or SMS, whatever that may be, and lead them through the buyer's journey so you can increase the lifetime customer value.
yeah,
So your $100 customer could turn to a $5,000 customer down the line.
yeah. Which is like it's such a beautiful thing, and I think people think about it too late, especially the email. Dude, you'd be surprised. We have agency clients that have been in business 20 years that we are introducing email marketing to them. Like we're starting a newsletter. And I'm like, and by the way, they're not broke. Like these are individuals that make 6, 7 figures. Like multiple six-figure consultants that don't have newsletters. And I'm like, what? I'm
Yeah,
so confused right
yeah,
now. Like that was just like kind of 101, but I think people struggle also with figuring out what that newsletter is going to be and like what it should entail. And
most definitely.
we got somewhat lucky because I used to do this thing, Rock, and I still do it, but I probably unconsciously, obviously. But basically, if I in elevated, if anybody did something that they weren't, being impeccable with their word, they said, "Hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z this week," and they don't do it. Right? I would have this. I had this habit. I go, "Rock, I love you, right?" And then that was my way of the next thing I was going to say was going to be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like that. I didn't even know I was doing it. Right? It was like my clients go, "Did you ever realize that you say, I love you, right?" And before you like get on us. So anyway, that turned into Tough Love Tuesday, which was this is our first newsletter. Now we have an ECA newsletter that we're putting out, which has like all the podcasting and whatever. But what's funny is, Elisa does our email, and I didn't realize how simple email marketing can be in terms of the conversation
Yeah,
that's already going on and the logical sequence of events that should happen. Like you download this freebie, here are the I know how to conceptualize it from a high level standpoint, right? Like I know I want to take you from I think I need this to this, whichever that thing is, a $27 offer, $300, whatever, right? But like the beauty of what you do is like bring simplicity to it. Does that make sense? Like some people
yeah,
we just
yeah.
overthink the emails. I think overall.
I tell people all the time, like I don't know what to write, but you post every single day on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You have about your last 6 posts, 3 of them were a top 10, whatever. Just take 2 of those and just expound on it deeper in the email, and you got your newsletter for the month.
Yeah,
If you're doing them every week, you got your content. So I think people think it has to be this big grandiose thing of almost a novel, when you're really just thinking more about conversations.
yeah.
Like your email should sound more like a conversation, so that when you do drop those sales, you're going to be able to get better results.
Do you have who has your favorite newsletter right now, or email subscription in general?
I would say the guys from Valuepreneur. I love those newsletters because they're just super value packed. I'm on Gary V's as well. I subscribe to a lot. And I also like Russell Brunson's. They're kind of awesome.
The the Valleypreneur. What do you like about them? Like, is there something?
I like.
Let me say this. Is there some? I'll put it this way. Is there a through line between all of them? Like, is there something that they all do that like you really really enjoy?
I like their call to action because it's subtle.
What's the call to action?
Um, the call to actions are normally like, "Hey, if you want to level up, then watch this video," and the video won't be the sale. It'll be the off. It'll be like content, and then within that content is the offer.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And that's kind of what I mimic with how I sell, because I call them email stealth secrets. Because if you're just blasting your offer in your email all the time, it's going to get stale.
Yeah.
But if you have, let's say, a YouTube video and the offer's in the description, And then the video, you kind of talk about the offer in a roundabout way, more like you're explaining why you need this and get some there. It's going to, you create a more organic appeal versus saying, subject line being bracket, buy now, 50% off XYZ, you're going to get this. Then just dropping helpful content. And at the end, you shifting them to somewhere else that has that content. And then you got that offer.
Which
so
makes sense,
that's a
right? Like if somebody you get an email and it has some value, you want to go deeper. Here's a video, right? Here's a video training. That's what we usually do. Is like here's a video training.
Right.
What I don't do though is take it to that next level of embedding and kind of starting to do it now, where we're putting our call to action in the middle of the video. So then that could be our call to action. But one of the things my favorite newsletter to subscribe to is Joe Polish's newsletter. So I actually everything I know about email marketing comes from Dean Jackson and Joe Polish. Joe Polish is the CEO of or the founder of Genius Network, and then Dean Jackson is his partner, and they do I Love Marketing together. It's a great podcast. It's amazing, and they do the best thing about that podcast is they do not in person, but Zoom meetups. So then when they film, it's literally them on a Zoom, and you can come, and there'll be 300 people in there, and so it's so fun. Anyway, but Dean Jackson, fun fact, invented the squeeze pays. And so there's this really cool people that are in that world that are so our generation have no idea who they are, but they're the godfathers of marketing. Anyway, but I bring them up because the way that Joe writes his newsletters is fascinating to me because it was the first person I saw that just literally he was value only. He never pitches except for in theory kind of he pitches in every email because he does it in the PS line. So that's exactly what I did. So I literally stole his thing. It's just value. And then in the PS line, I'll be PS, when you're ready, here's 3 ways that we can help you. And it's just, dude, it's brilliant. And so it's it's always there. It's I never forget to pitch because it's always there. But at the same time, it's because for example, Joe, his main offer is the Genius Network, right? So Genius Network, $25,000 a year to be in that mastermind. Well, I would imagine 95% of the people that's on that email is not qualified to be in Genius Network, but they will be one day. So it's that cool thing of, hey, you can keep somebody on the email for 5-10 years and they'll get a bunch of value from you. And then when they're ready to make that decision, you're a no-brainer.
It works. I've had clients that I had months where it was slow, and then clients fall into my lap because they got the email, they booked the call, they said, all right, man, I'm ready. Because you got to think about it. Situations change every 3 to 6 months for people, financially, emotionally, whatever that may, spiritually, whatever that may be. So now they may be ready to go ahead and take eventually offer now versus in the beginning when they probably were just starting or they couldn't get the traction or they were able to somehow get funding or whatever. You were top of mind because you stayed in their inbox for however long.
Yeah. Okay, so another question on the email side, is email? Oh, let me back up. Have you heard of the 9-word email? I want to talk to you about
9-1 email.
The 9-word email.
9-word email. I have not.
You probably have heard a version of it. So Dean Jackson, once again, right? He came out with this thing called the 9-word email, and it's literally it'd be it would say the subject line would be let's just say last chance, but that's not really a good one. It'd be coaching. Right. And then in the subject or in the thing, it'll say just literally in 9 words, you summarize and go, I have have 3 more spots open for my coaching. Are you interested? ? Just really small, condensed, just 9 words. And he was talking about it again on I Love Marketing podcast. And it was I tested a few times. One, the open rate and response rate is just ridiculous. And I think it's just because you break up the cadence maybe of long email, and then plus, and also too, one of the things I played with before was no signature. So I took off the signature, so it seemed like it just came from my phone, right? Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people, even if it's just a no, how many people respond. And I don't know why it works so well. It's crazy. But anyway, I just want to see if you heard about it.
It's genius because normally when people can see the bottom of the email anyway, they're more likely to finish it. That's why personally, I'm not a fan of super long emails. The majority, I would say maybe around I would say 15 to 20 lines is what you'll get from me on any given day when I send an email out, because I know that naturally someone's going to scan to the bottom. And if it's like they see that bar and it's super tiny, that means they got a lot of scrolling to do, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we're not going to look at it that way. So if I just break it one line and I do a line break and I kind of make it easier for them to scan through, I'm going to get better results that way. So that's definitely genius, because now it's just like, okay, it's to the point.
Yeah.
It's to the point.
So then, how did you find? So okay, you got into email marketing. Do you enjoy the copywriting of email, or do you like the setup of like the strategy? Like, what do you enjoy most about the email marketing?
I would say I enjoy more of the strategy. I'm a decent copywriter. I'm not like an A1. I get the job done. But I like setting up, because when you automate it and you have different flows, excuse me, you can put people in flows and sequences forever. And what I mean by that, so let's say, and I give an example. Let's say someone goes to my welcome sequence. At the last email, my welcome sequence, it'll be an offer to book a call with me. They book the call. So now, after they book the call, 30 minutes later, I get a text saying how the meeting go, and I'll have 3 links. They showed and paid, they no showed, or they showed and not ready. I click that link, and they automatically get sent to another sequence.
Damn, let's go.
So now they're in there forever.
By the way, that's a salesperson's wet dream. You know that? Like, the
Yeah.
follow up is the worst part of sales.
Right, it is. So now, and those sequences have certain triggers and things of that nature. So the longest sequence I have is a 45 email sequence, but it's not like one sequence is 45 emails. It's those, okay, boom, boom, series here. You click this. Okay, boom, boom, boom. You get this. You click that. Boom, boom, boom. So it's smaller, broken down. But again, it's why understanding both your audience and the buyer's journey is so impactful.
Yeah, I think also too, like I wouldn't even recommend that people would go to you right when they start, because I feel like you got to really know your offer. I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you really got to know your offer, and you really got to know your customer before you do this.
Yeah,
like
you really do.
And now I guess like if they work with you, obviously, if they expand or do something, they can always continue that work. So I guess you could still do it. But I'm just thinking, like, dude, like, how much do you really need to know your customer before you write a 45-page sequence that they all tap into each other and they're all based on decision making? That's crazy.
Right. Your mind has to operate on a different level and kind of understand what are your common objections, what are their fears, what really keeps them up at night. Like, you have to really understand those small nuances. So someone normally, and people do just get, hey man, I just need something basic. And so I recommend, even if you don't, okay, you can't fathom creating a 45 email sequence, get your basic 5-piece in. Get your basic 5-piece welcome sequence. That's everybody. That should be a done deal for everybody. Where they get a freebie from you, they get 4 to 5 emails. That last email is going to be the offer. I don't recommend people putting the offer in email 1 through 5, because then that gets stale, right? But if you put it at the end, then you have some clarification metric, like, okay, they clicked this link, they did not click this link. Then you can kind of do your follows manually from there. But at the bare minimum, you should at least have a 5-piece.
Do you have a favorite way that you go over the offer in the email? Like, email to me, or copywriting in general to me, it's just very fascinating, because I'm a talker, if you can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
Writing has never been, I like challenge myself to write, because I hate it so much, so I make myself do it because I have issues. But yeah, it's not my thing. So like, I guess how do you have like a format that you like to follow when you're going over the offer in the email, or story based?
Normally this is what I do. And this is what I do for my clients. This is what I've done for myself. This got me the most results. Email 1 is always the deliverable, and it's the shortest one. Like, hey, you got this. Thank you. Boom, boom. Day 2. Now I embed videos in the email. So it'll be a quick 1-minute video of me introducing myself and kind of putting some context in the text down below. This is so that they can see my face in case there is freebie hunting. Because what happens, right? People literally go to people's stuff and grab freebies just to get started or to get some basic information. So it kind of puts me top of mind. And if they don't, or not in an area where they can look at the video, they can still see who I am, why I love doing what I do, and how I can help them.
And then
now,
in that email, like, so in the email with the video, do you also have the text explaining what you say in the video as well?
Yes, just in a condensed version. So maybe an additional 4 to 5 lines, nothing major.
Okay.
And I always say, look, hey, I see you tomorrow. I set the expectation that they're getting something from me the next day. So the next day, I'm gonna write a story. All right. So the story is gonna be how I had a client that's gonna fit my target audience and how I had them in the low point. I have one I always use called Janet's Cookies. Janet's Cookies had a huge Instagram following. They sold all of their business. They got all their purchases through Instagram locally. But one day their account got shut down. And then at boom, they came to me. They didn't have an email set up. So we decided to make that a part of the marketing strategy. And so when they were able to get their page back, they were able to go ahead and get most of their followers on their email list. They were able to make sales more consistently, and now they actually own their audience. So why is that a good story? Well, for one, it addresses the fear of what happens if my Instagram, my primary marketing channel, goes dead for whatever reason. Two, I now have ownership over my audience because I have a list now. I can take that list with me so whatever happens. And overall, now they can kind of see that experience of what if that happens to me? So we kind of create that story, and normally we do it in one email or we break it up between 1 to 2 emails. So if we break it up, the first email will be when they're at the low point, they're sitting to the low point. Second email, we're getting them back to the high point. Then the last email, so if I do 4, the last email would either be a fact find, so probably some statistics, or it will just be the offer. And they'll be using, of course, like, hey, I'm only able to work with another 3 clients for the rest of the month. If you're interested, catch me before I go X, Y, and Z. And then, call to action. So that's normally how that will go. So everyone that's running a service-based business, even a product-based business, that's the very basic setup. You really can't go wrong with that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think we're doing something similar to that. I'm pretty sure. We are. Okay. So where did you get started in terms of like where did you go to? Where's your source for learning about this stuff? Like, for me, again, anything marketing is going to be Joe Polish, like that. Like anything in the Genius Network realm, I learned all my marketing from that.
Right.
Do you have like kind of a godfather of email marketing that you kind of learned from when you first got started?
When I first got started, I bought Copywriting Secrets from Russell Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like, I brought the whole thing, like traffic secrets, copywriting secrets, expert secrets, all that good stuff. They put me in a good frame of mind. After that, it was just trial and error. I was a big, I was YouTube University's #1 student.
Yeah.
So I would just go through videos, look hours. I'm talking about I'd be up 2 o'clock in the morning looking at email videos from like 3 years ago and trying to see how that stuff is relevant now versus back then. I just got trial and error. So I started. My open rates were probably at like a 10% because I was just setting them wrong. I was doing all the wrong things. I was just trying stuff to see if it would work. But once I finally got my groove, we were able to get maybe between a 40 to 50% open rate, a 10 to 20% click rate, and those things because I realized it wasn't more so the structure of the email and what I was putting in it was I making it was I making it into a conversation.
Was there a reason why? Like, what do you think? Like, let's somebody has a low click rate, and maybe just go into like for a brief second explain what click rate means. But also, if you have a low click rate, less than 10%, what are some of the causes of that? Do you think?
So some of the causes of that are just offer. They just pretty much ignoring your offer at that point. They'll click it, they'll read, they'll scan it, but they're off it because subconsciously they know you're gonna give them an offer anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's reason normally #1. #2, you're probably the opposite of that. You're not even having a call to action. You're just trying to hide a link in the text somewhere and thinking hopefully they'll see the link and click it. That's normally reason #2. It sounds funny, but it happens. People do that.
Like they're like, okay, well, I am gonna offer it for my own like subconscious knowing that like I did it, but I also don't really want you to find it.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll just put it in there, and because normally you think, well, maybe they see the highlighted text, they'll click it and get curious, and then that'll be what it is from there.
Yeah.
But they won't, because they know something's there anyway. So it's like they just won't do it. So some ways to kind of improve that are to kind of scale back on the offer. Like a lot of my emails, I don't even send links out. I just send either content or just like, hey, I call them community check-ins, where I'm asking them what they're doing, and I'm making it an area where they can reply. That's your best metric, is when they actually take time to reply to the email. So that's kind of what I
I think too,
focus
you
on.
got to start with that too. Like we tried to incorporate that the last few months, and I feel like people were so used to me just sending the emails and not asking for a response that people were like, we just never got a response. And I think it was simply
Yeah.
because when they came in for months, I had never asked them to do it before.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
I'm telling you, when you ask for a response, like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" or I call it the goal setting one. Once a month, I may put some motivational content in there, and it's a word email, and the goal will be to, hey, tell me what your goals are. I'm not even trying to get you just a regular response. I'm trying to say specifically what you need help with. So let's say using it for a sample size, if you have 1,000 emails, you get, let's say, 5 responses. That's still 5 people that you can get some basic structure from, and maybe that's a catalyst to create another sequence or create another good sales email, because now you can talk specifically to what those goals are and how you can help them reach them.
Yeah, no, I think that's fascinating. One thing I wanted to mention too, when I was learning about like email marketing, one of my favorite books is called Over Deliver, and it was by Daniel Katz. I'm gonna screw that up. I feel really bad now. Anyway, he was a direct mailer because like direct mailing, the way that he kind of talked about this in the book was interesting. So he goes over his whole like story of direct mail and how it worked and how they had to do the segments of the list and so on and so forth. And he said something in that book that kind of blew me away. He was like, the problem with today and the people that do email marketing today is that they don't appreciate their list. And he said the reason for that is because it's free. So what does it cost? Like half a cent, like not even to send an email. And so if there's spelling errors, if it's not as good as it could be, who cares? Just send it out. Versus back in the direct mailing days, that could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you have a fucking typo and you got to go and fix it. Like that could really screw you up. And so
Right.
I loved that book because again it gave me another way of looking at email marketing and being like, no, let's not just throw shit out. Like let's do it. Let's make sure that we're doing it in a way that's going to inspire. It's not going to be a
Right.
huge
Be
waste.
intentional.
Let's be super, yes, exactly, super intentional. Because when I first started, again, I had I had a list, but I just didn't really focus on it as much as I do now. But when you first get started, I think it's really easy to just like send out emails whenever or never send out an email. But then and this is the problem, and hopefully people pick this up from listening to this today, is even if you have a list, like to nurture it. 'Cause again, I have a client right now, dude, that has 25,000 people on her list, but she hasn't emailed them in like 3 years. And I'm like, what were you doing? Like that's such a
Yeah.
like what?
So you might as well start from scratch now at this point, because going to serve no purpose. You're going to get like maybe a 3% open rate,
I know.
which
So
I've
like
seen.
I think our plan is to do like a really quick like 3 email series just to say, hey, like if you're still into this, click
Yeah,
here,
went back. Yeah,
like, and then get rid of the rest of them. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
it's
That
just
makes sense.
again, it's just fascinating to me. But I think okay, so let's go back to the starting point, right? So if people are just getting started, how do you come up with a list? How do you get a list? How do we get people to actually opt in and want emails from us? And maybe I'm gonna ask you another question to this, right? Is email marketing
Right.
actually dead? And then we're gonna after this we're gonna move on to the CRM stuff. But yeah, is email marketing dead? And how do I get started?
No, email marketing is not dead. People think email marketing is dead because they haven't figured out how to use it optimally. So that's why they're having problems with it. If I'm just getting started and I have something of value, I would give it away for free, of course. Now, this is
You
going to
think
some
the
people
freebie giveaway is still the best way to generate a list?
most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely, hands down. And now I would even mention, instead of it being an ebook, I think ebooks are dead. Ebooks definitely are dead. They're played out. I don't recommend anybody offering an ebook anymore. I recommend a video training, maybe a free course, maybe the bare minimum a 1 page. If it is going to be something like they got to read a 1 page checklist or something like that, but it has to be valuable. I always say for your freebies, you know it's a good freebie when you second guess, like, man, I should be charging for this. That's how you know it's a good
Yeah.
freebie.
We say out free the competition.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like it's valuable, makes sense. Give it away for free. Make content around it. When you're doing live interviews with other people, try to get in front of their audience. If you don't have a big one, kind of leverage somebody else's. Do what you have to do, and then once you do, make your sequences. Even if you don't have a store because you're just starting, make one up. Like I'm just being very honest here. Make one up. Make it so where you're confident in the what you're able to deliver, and create that scenario. Because again, facts tell but stories sell. Yeah. So that's why I'm a big fan of storytelling within the confines of email, because it creates some relatability. And so once you are able to do that, and you are able to get your first 100, your first 1,000 email subscribers, based on your numbers on your sequence, you can always tweak it later. So getting started, that's the first thing. But to get the emails, let me back up. I kind of went too far there. You need to make a landing page or a squeeze page. And what that is, that's just going to be a brief one-pager on how to get someone's name, email, or phone number in exchange for the freebie. So they leave their information, they hit submit, they get an automated email getting what you just promised them. And so that's how you pretty much get started.
What do you think about? By the way, I had somebody. So somebody that's in the academy. So his name is Anthony. He has the daily. This guy's a savage. He has a daily email newsletter. I think he's over a year now. That he's never missed a day. The guy's a savage. He's amazing.
Yeah, beautiful commitment,
dude. Yeah, I like even he came out for the live workshop, and he ended up staying. He stayed at our house, and I think it was like 4 a.m, and he was up typing away for the email for the day. His name's shout out to Anthony Garcia. He's a Manychat coach, but super fascinating. I really do enjoy even that. I think the struggle with people is it's like, I guess, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. What do you think about text now versus emailing? Is there one that's like king? Like I can only pick one, Rock. And I know it's not real, but if I could only pick one,
I would stick with email.
What?
And the reason
That's
why
surprising.
I would stick with email. I would, because text is very intrusive. I've had people, when I've even put them in a text sequence, they'll text back stop. But they'll keep reading the emails. Why is that? Because text is more of a disruptor.
Yeah.
Because again, especially if you're in the mode of looking for a specific text from a specific person, you've all had to happen on gig. You're looking in the back of mind, you're looking for something. Text message goes off. It's not what you thought it was, so now you're annoyed.
Yeah.
It don't matter how valuable it is, you're just annoyed at that point. You don't care what really it is, but it's saying you're going to ignore it and probably come back to it later. So I'm not saying text is bad.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, before you decide to tap into text, master email first.
Yeah.
Because that's going to give you a better copywriting perspective, and so you can find ways to stealthily sell in text without being so disruptive, and abrasive, like, hey, buy from me now. Like, that kind of will work if you're an e-commerce store, restaurant, things, places of that nature. Beautiful for text messaging.
Yeah.
If you're a coach or a consultant service provider, I wouldn't focus on it right now. There's nothing wrong with putting part of your strategy, but again, you have to be very, very mindful of what you're doing.
That's true. Is there a strategy you like with text? Like, for me, we haven't done this yet, but one of the things that we've thought about is like, okay, so Tough Love Tuesdays is our Tuesday newsletter, and doing a text that basically says like, hey, the emails, like, you got the email, like Tough Love Tuesday was delivered, go check it out, and then maybe like a snippet from it or something like that, but it's just a way to promote the email, or using it again for really good trainings. Like, is there a text strategy you do like that you feel like would be good enough to keep people on the list?
Right. I think you should always go for your customer frequency. And so what does that mean? So restaurant can get away with texting once pretty much every day for the most part, or at least a couple times a week. Service-based businesses are a little different. So maybe you do once a week, or the very most probably twice a week, and it's switching up. And so what I mean by that, you're not always, again, same with email, not always promoting your offer, but you're still present. Mm-hmm. And because text, you actually have to pay for the message you send out, I would recommend only sending text to your most engaged subscribers. Only because that's going to yield you the most results long term. Email's a little different. You can send a list email to everybody, even if they're not engaged, in the hopes of re-engaging them. Text, if you're already burning the money anyway, you might as well get the best result by just sending it to the people who are giving you at least 70% opens on emails you send. So then they're going to open anyway. So you can have more to work with and make your money back even quicker.
True. All right. So the most valuable of the list, we're gonna text those. Not everybody. Not everybody gets
Yeah, it's
that
not
love.
everybody. Yeah, no, not everybody. You want to make it like the people that are committed. They know they're just not there yet. They love the brand. They may just not be ready yet. Okay, cool. Though you're gonna get our text because we're gonna even create even more exclusive stuff specifically for you.
Yeah. There was one person I know. His name was Dre, I think. Yeah, Dre. He does a daily motivational text, which I thought was cool too. But again, that's a
Yeah,
commitment. Like you can't miss
that's
a day.
commitment. That's commitment. Right,
Like
right.
you
And it
really can't
also
miss a
depends
day.
on your list size too. Yeah, yeah, as well.
Okay, so let's move over to mini chat 'cause that's how I found you. Well, I've been following you for a
Or-
while, but I think the thing that got me interested in actually working with you is mini chat because I don't even know how I saw people talking about mini chat for a while. Oh, listen, we can get into this. So I had friends that were using mini chat. I had a bunch of friends using mini chat. I was like, this is fucking stupid. I'm old school sales in that way. I was like, no, the human needs to sell, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
also too, it was frustrating because I think also it wasn't ManyChat's fault. It was their fault because their automations were so fucked up that it was like the keywords didn't make sense. So like a lot of times, in the middle of a conversation, next thing you know, you get that automation. You're like, dude, what? This is so freaking annoying. It made me not want to text them. So like that was frustrating, but I had it in my head like people would not be interested in buying or going through an automated sequence. Like I thought that like no one would be interested in doing that. And then I think the thing that made me come around to it and at least start to think about it was the idea that you can make it a little bit more customized. And this is like a couple of years ago. So like just recently I noticed that the time delays were there and I started thinking about the capabilities of mini chat. Like you and I are gonna be working together. Like I'm hiring you to do my mini chat sequence, and just the thought of delivering everything in Instagram, still getting their email address, still doing that, but delivering everything where you already are, just got me excited, right? Because how many
Right.
people like still a I get bummed out about the amount of people that say yes, I'm interested in this freebie, and then they get it and they don't open the fucking emails. Like they just never open them, and you're like mad because you're like, dude, like you asked for this.
Yeah.
But if I hit you on
Exactly.
Instagram with ManyChat and you ask for something, I can give it to you immediately and get that help. So anyway, talk to me a little about ManyChat. How did you find ManyChat? Like what got you interested in ManyChat and kind of what you do to help clients with it?
Manychat struck my actually one of my coaching students, one of my very first coaching students, they were using Manychat but for Facebook. So that's so, and I was showing him, and he was, and my responsibility was show him how to sell it and how to get people on the email list and how to promote it the right way. This is back when my coaching program was all jacked up. I just was talking about sales in general, just getting people results, but it wasn't my best moment in time.
Yeah.
But it was still my
Wait,
program,
why not though?
and so because I was still talking about everything. I was showing people how to make content, how to sell, how to brand yourself. I was including email in there, but it wasn't narrowly focused as it is now. Now, if you're in my coaching program, we're still talking about email, automation, buyer journey, mix sales. Before, it was an overarching experience that was long, and it just wasn't my best work at that time. But Marcus was still able to get results because he sold a mini chat course that he was selling for like $50 a pop, which was way too low. So once we upped that to 1,000 and was selling in Facebook groups, he was able to make like his first 5K, quit his job. Now he's living the mini chat life on Facebook. And so then that got me interested in learning it for myself because of things he was able to do. He was able to, when people clicked on the Facebook ads, instead of having people go to a website, they would kick off the actual response bot. They were like, hey, thank you for. Now I would see this and I'm like, this is pretty daggone cool, man. And so Marcus pretty much stopped doing mini chat for whatever reason. This is like fast forward a year later. This is like back in 2018 this was happening. So then he stops. I decided to pick it up because they're announcing it for Instagram soon. I said, okay, cool. So I start learning it and I see a lot of people saying comment XYZ to get my course or DM me this to get that. And people were saying, I DM'd you, I didn't get it. It's a problem. So, okay, let's see how we can revolutionize that. So what I did, and the same thing we're talking about, how you would say the phrase and they would still have the automation, that's literally just one small mistake. That instead of saying phrase, they say their keyword is keyword contains versus keyword is. So that's the small stuff that messes people up. So once I realized that, I was like, okay, let's create an experience for my Instagram family so they can get everything there. Because again, once they got to click off, if it's a bad signal, load times, then they're going to be able to, they're not going to be engaged if they have to wait too long for it or they got to search for it. So if we can deliver it to them on Instagram as is, that works too. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got started because I focus more on the Instagram side of it versus the Facebook side of it.
Yeah, and again, Manychat, there's so many interesting capabilities with it that I feel like I'm not gonna say like people are sleeping on it because I think maybe I was just blind and I didn't see it, and I just didn't like pay attention to what it could do. But as soon as I downloaded it, as soon as I went on, I got an account with it. I started playing around. I was like, oh. Like, just like you said, imagine running the ads instead of going to the landing page and then losing a percentage of people there. It's just, send the message. And then immediately you're in that flow. You're putting in your email, you're putting in your text, and then whatever. So you're still getting the information, but then they also don't have to leave the platform. Because it's also, you have such a short period of time to keep their attention once they leave the Instagram platform. Because that's where they want to be. They don't want to leave Instagram. If they wanted to leave Instagram, right, they would have been off Instagram. And so it's like, let's keep them where they wanted to be, take them through, and then they can still get everything they need. And so, like, Manychat in general, it's like, I remember when I was playing around with it and I figured out the capabilities of it, I remember calling Elisa, who, I gotta say, man, I have the best team in the world because they don't, like, kill me. Because every other day I got something like, oh, my God, we could do this. I have the worst, dude. Yeah. But I called her. I'm like, I'm not saying I want to be done with email marketing. But I'm saying that with this and email marketing, like, we could do some damage. Because then we're meeting people where they are. Because, again, there's people that definitely open their email and they're very active in their email. But there's other people that are like, they get on the list, but they're not really reading that like it. You know what I mean? Like, they'd rather you DM them on Instagram, and I don't feel like DMing you all day on Instagram. So, like, let's have Manychat do it. Yeah.
And it's amazing because then, as I showed you when we had talked, you can create different pathways depending on what the response is. Mm-hmm. You can tag them, and so now you can send almost like an email blast. You can send a message to all your your entire people that's tagged with a specific thing because they went through this specific automation flow. So now you're creating instant deliverability because again they're on platform, and then you can create as many because a lot of people what they do. They'll put a freebie hub in their link in bio, and they'll have like 30,000 links to it, and so people get lost in that anyway. Now, if that is the case, if you do have more than one offer, you can have one offer in the link in bio, and then your bio, also in your bio, you can have a call to action, but like DM me this to get this. Yeah. So that's what I was screenshotting you that if you DM me a certain thing, you'll get a whole flow within that itself, and that will be a qualification metric.
That's what I love about Manychat is that the frustrating part as a coach is I have many different offers, right? I mean, I have the one main offer, the flagship, which is the Academy, but I have tons of freebies we've made. I have tons of things that I want to give to people because I'm like, we make these trainings every week on YouTube. We do, we have the podcast, we have this, but I fucking refuse to put in more than one link in the bio. Like, I hate Linktree. There's too many options. Yeah. And so you're kind of stuck, right? And then also when we make our content, we oftentimes embed in the carousel or in the video link in the bio, right? But what if it changes and somebody catches that content like 2 days later? And so it was frustrating. So when you again, when I learned about Manychat and found you, and I was like, oh, I love the fact that every piece of content I make, I can do a call to action that's specific to that fucking content. Like, I love that. Like, I'm like, yes, let's go. Now I can come up with as many offers as I fucking want. I can have a thing, with it,
Yep. One of my clients, they have like 6 different offers because they do trucking. Like, they pretty much they offer truckers pretty much a home for the most part, so they can go out and do their thing. And what she does, we created a freebie hub for her, and so it's called like a Manychat command list. So as a highlight, they look at that, it'll give them a list of all the things they can DM to get certain things. Yeah. So now the DMer XYZ, boom, it goes automatically. Yeah. So they're able to get what they need to get.
Because I even want to do crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things we could do with it. Because I think the other thing that I'd be interested to utilize for it would be like, again, the podcast stuff. I'm just thinking about it. Like, again, it's like get the latest podcast on the menu, right? But also like with the tag list of being like, hey, just so you guys know, like the new episode's out. Like, because I think if we could do something like that, it all feeds into everything, right? Like, so I look at, so it's interesting because you talk about we talk about with email marketing to get people off the platform, and how I look at things is like get somebody to as many platforms as possible. Like, I want you to follow me on LinkedIn. I want you to follow me on Instagram.
Right.
I want you to follow me on my new email newsletter. I want you to follow me everywhere. Because I was trying to explain to this woman on LinkedIn, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the way that I was explaining it was wrong, or what. Hold on one second. Echo. Go on, do not disturb. She's bugging me about my meetings. Anyway, so what I was explaining to her was, look, you know, on Instagram, only 10% of your audience is seeing your shit. Like, maybe less, okay? It doesn't matter how many followers you got, like, 10% is seeing it. Okay, so the idea is, yes, of course, if I get you on my email marketing, cool. But even that is a percentage. Like, on the high end, we're talking about 50% open rates, like on the high end, right? But still, that bothers me. So, okay, what if, though, I get you to go from Instagram to follow me on YouTube? Okay, now I just increase my chances a little bit. And then also from YouTube to TikTok, and then also to LinkedIn, and then email marketing. The point of saying all that is that if I do that, I've now increased my chances substantially of you seeing my same piece of content at some point in that day, right?
Most definitely.
And then there's also this thing where you create this this serendipity, right? Where somebody reaches out to you and goes, "Man, it's weird. I've been seeing your shit all the time. I think it's a sign that we should work together." And it's like, no, you follow me everywhere, and I post every day.
Yeah.
So like, it's just the chances are, you're going to see my shit.
Right.
But it's like, that was my thing. It's like, okay, so, but also what became this interesting thing, we haven't perfected it, by the way, so I'm going to put it out there. Maybe somebody can perfect it before me and just tell me how you did it, is I want to leave breadcrumbs. So, for example, let's say you see Instagram, TikTok first. That's going to be a snippet versus the long form version of that. It's obviously on YouTube. And then on LinkedIn, it's the written side of it, right? But what I want to be able to do is to give you the order some way in the content. So that way, if you see it on LinkedIn, then you go in the order, and then you realize, oh, LinkedIn was third. So you go do it all over again because that was the right order. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Trying to make it where they have to go through a specific pathway to get the full value of the content.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But like in the thing, I started with TikTok, but that's the last one. So I'm going to come back to that. Let me go over to his Instagram. Again, I know it's like crazy, but the reason why I'm obsessed with this concept is because of time. Trust equals sales, period. People trust you, they buy from you. But what is the metric in which you need to track in order to measure trust? It's time. So if I can get you to spend more time with me across platforms, in my emails, whatever, the more time you spend with me, the more likelihood you're going to buy from me. And if I wait long enough for the ask, you're going to give me even more money. So it becomes this thing. Anyway, that's like my obsession right now. So my last kind of question for you, last couple questions is, one, why don't people fucking do this? So like, what are some of the objections you get about like, Manychat or email marketing? Like, why aren't people like, why isn't 100 people at your door right now saying, please build my shit? Like, I don't understand why people aren't doing this more.
Because they look at their habits and they associate that with their potential customers' habits. Man, I never look at my email. I never read my email. So why do I expect them to? You're not them. Like, if I'm looking for a specific email, I favorite, I make sure it's in my inbox, XYZ. You just haven't created that dynamic for your audience. Because your audience is used to seeing your videos where you give a bunch of value, and that's where it stops. People need sometimes 5 to 7 points of contact for you to make that sale. Because as you said,
it's way more
time
now.
equals trust. Yeah, way more. You need a bunch of them.
How much content is out right now? Fucking, I heard from somebody. I'll let you finish, but there's a guy that is really big into Google Analytics and Google Ads, and this new thing called Performance Max on Google. I won't get into that. I'll get into it with you later because it's fascinating as hell. Basically, Google's going to take over the world. They're Skynet, but he said it's closer to 500 now because of how much content's out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So for the individual, if they're able to create that, or at least get as many points of contact as possible, whether that's Instagram, email, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever that may be for them, you're gonna still increase your chances. So why not? And plus, it's the ownership of it.
Yeah.
And so let's say your IG account gets shut down for some reason you can't create content. So how are you still going to eat? How are you still going to make sales? You know, and I give you an example for myself. I've been real sick lately. You know, I caught up in my mouth right now. I haven't been able to make content the last 2-3 weeks, which means I'm not able to get many new leads coming in, looking at my stuff, and take things of that nature. But I can still send emails. I still got points on the board. I still got appointments booked. Why? Because I send stuff to my email list religiously. And so with that, if you're out the game and you can't do one action, your email is your saving grace. If you think about it from that perspective, that's like your last ditch effort. Like if everything goes wrong, if I can get something going for my email list, even if it's a couple of appointments, I still have a chance to be in the game.
Do you is most of your stuff still automated, or do you do any of your emails that's like kind of fresh off the dome? Like, hey, just got this idea today. I'm gonna send this email. Like, how often do you do that?
Yeah, normally I do that. Like all of my weekly emails, they're pretty manual. So I send one twice a week. I do a community check-in, and I do an official newsletter where I just curate content from other sources. It's not even about me. I just want to share the value that I may have been looking up throughout the week. I share that. And in the community check-in, we just, again, it's more me-centric where I create the content. I'll do my ninja call to action to where I want to get them somewhere. And then once a month, I do like a hard sell.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I had 2 availability. I'm all going out of town this week, whatever that may be, whatever my FOMO situation is. I drop that so that people can take advantage of what we got going on.
I like the idea of the hard sell once a month, of being like, especially if you got people who you could tell keeps clicking a link, they've downloaded everything, they've opened every email, just once a month going, hey, motherfucker, listen, I know you want this. Like, exactly. I don't know what you need from me. I know you want to buy it. Just fucking put your card information in and let's get to work. Exactly. What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And see, and that's the beauty about email marketing, because you can tag, especially when you get to the advanced side, depending on their actions, you can tag them with certain things. Like when somebody clicks a link, and they click my booking link in the email, I tag them with, click the booking link. So let's say I send 500 emails out that day. If a third of those click booking link, guess what? On my hard sell day, I may just send an email today where people are like, look, I see you clicked the link, but you didn't book anything. What happened? What's going on? Are you ready? Are you still struggling with X, Y, and Z? And that's my hard sell. And I generate a lot of appointments that way.
What people don't do enough, and I was fortunate. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. Same scenario I just mentioned, right? She went through every single email. She has opened every email. She's clicked every link that I've ever had. She's bought everything except for join the academy. And so I don't think people do this enough because I think they're afraid of the response. But I flat out asked them, walk me through why the hell haven't you joined yet? It exists. All these steps happened. You were literally the perfect. I created, the mastermind thinking of you, the type of person you are. It's made for you. And you haven't bought. Walk me through why not. And I don't think we do that enough as marketers / coaches / consultant, whatever, because it was so helpful. I called the team afterwards, and I was like, all right, here's our problems. And the biggest problem was, which, again, was super surprising, is we don't do call to actions enough, which is so funny. Because to me, we're so blinded by our own shit sometimes that we think we're pitching every second of the day. It's almost too much. And then you hear back from people that's talking with you, and they're like, yeah, no, you don't pitch enough. I was like, I don't pitch enough? What the fuck? All right, that's interesting. And then it was also even how it's articulated. And granted, we're redoing our landing page now because of this. But I think, too, it's my point is I think we sometimes get in our head that, man, I sent one email that had a pitch in it, and I want to do it too much. But, again, I'm learning, even for me, online, I'm not pitching nearly as much. Because, again, if we're talking in person, it's different. Rock, I was like, you're joining the academy. You'd be perfect for it. It's perfect for you. Let's go. But online, I don't know why. I just took a really passive, you know what it is? Because I mentioned before, there's tons of people that I really enjoy their newsletter, but they never pitched. And I took that as that's the way you do it. I just figured it
Right.
out on this live on this podcast. I just figured out what my block was, and that's what it was.
Right. That's why subscribers to a lot of newsletters can still be detrimental. That's why I don't subscribe to a lot of them, and I try not to take too much from them because that can kind of cloud your own wave, and you can be in your own way like that. That's how I made that mistake early on as well. Like I just copied formats.
Yeah.
But as you go through your own brand, especially when you're the one showing up, you're the one creating the videos, the lives, the content, it's you they're buying into, right? We know that already. So then I can't do what Valuepreneur is doing because I'm not them. I can only do what Rock is doing and have people move in that direction.
Man, we got to do this again because I've tons more questions for you, and especially playing around with, and maybe we'll just do an IG live at some point too. Because again, I'm like curious about. So I'm this new journey right now, and it's working, which is so fascinating, and it's good. But like Elevated, I'm trying to not make it about me. I'm trying to make it about the members. And we're doing this super early on because I know tons of people that have really successful masterminds and stuff like that, and they get to a point where people come there for them, and then they get in this thing of, well, if I am no longer like if I don't go there every day, I don't want people bitching that I'm not there. And so they try to make it about, but it's like too late, if that makes sense. So
Right.
We're kind of in this interesting spot right now that we're transitioning it away from me. And it's been interesting that it's been working. And so anyway, I want to talk to you probably next time about that. Like the difference between how like an email marketing should look like for a brand versus an individual, and how that works. But anyway, Rock. It was amazing, dude.
Brother.
Great job, dude.
Yeah, man. Listen, I love it, man. Thank you. Let me know. Come back anytime. Drop some more gems. We didn't really tap on the automation piece that much, but that's okay. We just went with the flow. We made it happen, and then people gonna get tons of value from this.